Hello everybody. Thank you for inviting me to take this potato printing workshop session. This is one of my favourite activities. I find it very therapeutic and it's a good way of sort of inciting creativity. So I suppose I don't consider myself to be somebody who's very sort of craft minded. So everything I do in that way tends to be a little bit kind of sloppy and messy. But if you can get into that kind of spirit, I think it is more useful for making exciting and unpredictable artworks that, you know, you don't know what they're going to look like once they're made, until they're made, sorry. Or even once they're made sometimes. So this, I think, is the most difficult bit, which will be cutting our big potatoes with these little plastic knives, but I'm going to try two methods of doing it. Firstly, I'm going to cut, because I have two ideas. Well, maybe I should talk to you about what I have here and where my ideas are coming from first, and then we'll do that. So I have some paint, poster paint, which I think is a really great kind of texture and viscosity, perfect for mixing with lovely potato juices and creating a kind of sheen. Much easier to work with than oil paint, in my opinion, much less toxic. And also the colours are so wonderful. This is a bit like a lichen colour, I always think. Trusty paper plates, look like full moons. And some imagery. So I've just sort of collected a whole load of imagery that I have lying around the place, because I tend to work with a kind of a sort of bank of images and books that I've had for years, and they grow, my image bank grows, but I keep going back to the same artists and the same ideas. So as Natalie mentioned earlier, I have a fascination with heraldry, and that's what I worked on at the Junipers. Sorry about this drain noise. It's coming from my sink. So my idea today, and here's another book which I find really useful, which is the Reader's Digest Guide to the British Isles Folk Mythology. But today I've chosen to work with two images, which both come out of a fairy tale book. Well, at least I'm going to start with this one, which is the image of an owl. Which I love, I've worked with quite a lot. And I'm choosing to use this today because it relates to the work that I did in the Junipers, but obviously you can work with whatever you want, but the only thing that, for the way that I work, for the methods that I choose to use, it has to be quite simplified, the image, because anything too pernickety is going to be difficult to achieve, but other people probably would disagree with that. But basically I like to make things very sloppy and expressionistic, and then sort of see what happens and then project into them and see what kind of images emerge once you've used repetition and violence. Right, here we go. Chopping into my potato.
Well, as I mentioned at the beginning, we've got Charlotte and Murphy who are doing some prints at the same time. I can see.
Yes. Look at all these lovely potato juices coming out. There's a real whopper of a potato. And I must admit, they're a little bit old, these potatoes, so they might be shockingly green on the inside. I wouldn't eat them, but they're perfect for our purposes. Nearly there.
You showed the images you're working from, Lucy. Do you want people to sort of work from similar images, or to sort of?
I just think people should find something that means something to them, and that can be simplified. So last time I did it, I made a mermaid, but she didn't end up looking like a mermaid at all. She ended up looking like some kind of tadpole with a face, but she still was very expressive, and you know, her character changed as she got smashed to smithereens over the course of the session. But there was something kind of really cathartic and empowering about that, I thought. And so, you know, people should just do what they want, basically.
Nice.
But just try and think about what image you want to be in some kind of psychic relation with. I suppose is what I'm trying to say. Now there's a funny little bit of mould on this potato, but maybe it will contribute something to our image. That's my kind of thinking. That's some kind of truth to materials idea, but now let's see. So this is going to be my horizontal potato. And I'm just going to a vertical potato now. And I haven't quite decided what image I'm going to use on this potato, actually, because the owl has been in my head for a while. But owls and mermaids, they're sort of my go-to images, which, you know, I'm not the only person in the world, and certainly not in this part of the world, who feels the same about those things. Mythological creature in the wise old owl. Right, so here's my potato, looking good. I'm thinking how to incorporate this. Maybe I'll turn this mouldy bit into possibly, well, we'll see what it looks like when it comes out, but possibly it can be some kind of background landscape thing, or even the moon or a star, or we'll see. Actually, and now start in the middle. Everything they tell you not to do in life drawing. But a little, I think the thing I love about the owl as much as anything else is their beautiful heart-shaped faces and their big eyes. I saw a lovely barn owl flying alongside the car the other day. Perhaps that is what has driven me to want to use them this time. Now, the problem with using these plastic knives is that you get a very kind of inconsistent surface on your, but any knife actually, it doesn't really make any difference, to be honest. You get a kind of inconsistent surface. But my idea is to make the most of it and see what it brings out, because, you know, you might start with this image, but you might end up with something completely different. I tend to think about Andy Warhol and his screen prints and the way they sort of gave way to mistakes and chaos and started to have their own kind of narrative about things by collapsing. So my collapsing potato is sort of my metaphor. Let's hope it's a generative, productive and inspiring collapse.
It'd be great to hear what anyone at home is using for their imagery. So if you want to put it in the Q&A and let us know what you're printing with your potatoes.
Yeah, or if anyone's got anything to say about owls, I'd be interested to hear. Or potatoes.
Or if anyone's printing with any other kind of vegetables.
Oh yeah. You see, I've never really tried to do it with any other kind of vegetable. It just doesn't appeal, but I know people do. I think it's this kind of waft of starch that you get from a potato. You know, like you're cooking, basically, like you're deep frying your thoughts.
Yeah.
So Charlotte,
deep frying your psyche.
Charlotte, what are you choosing to? What's your what are you printing? What sort of image are you looking at?
I am looking at a photo of my friend, which is on the wall. So I'm going to try and get the outline of his head, but I'm not sure. I don't know. We'll see what it looks like. I have a fun fact about owls, though, that you might appreciate.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
You know that it takes 2 owls to make the twit twit because one makes half the noise. So if you hear the full thing, you've got 2 owls, but if you can only hear like a woo or a twit, you've only got 1.
That's amazing.
Right.
But I didn't know that.
That is really interesting. I certainly didn't know that, because we had an owl doing twit-twoo just on our roof for about 2 weeks, about 2 years ago. It was such a wonderful thing. It was there for about 2 weeks, yeah, and it was doing twit-twoo, so there must have been 2 of them.
Yeah, 2 of them.
Wow. Oh.
Charlotte, I'm just going to speak to you for a second. We've had a question, Lucy, just to talk a bit more about what you're doing. So are you carving out the recess? Is it, which part of the image are you sort of carving out of the potato? Is it?
Well, I'm turning, sorry, it's very intuitive for me, this kind of thing, and I'm probably not the best teacher of it, because but I'll try my best. The potato, as I said, it has quite an inconsistent surface, so much as you would with a woodcut, and with the inconsistencies to create the image, which is this image originally.
Can we see the image a bit closer?
Yeah, can you see that? But I'm seeing the. Sorry.
Can we see the image a bit closer?
Oh yeah, sorry.
Thanks.
Is that okay?
Yeah, great.
Yeah. So, what this is, I think this is originally a lithographed image, because it's printed and it's slightly sort of blurry. What I'm doing is cutting out the lines in the image and sort of improvising with my own kind of version of it, so that the lines are sort of recessed and other bits are sticking out, but it's not really as formulaic as that. I'm also kind of sort of sculpting it a bit. So, and I haven't actually entirely decided, is the truth, what I'm going to do. For example, what I'm going to do with the mouldy bit. I haven't got there yet. So I'm improvising. But basically carving it like I would a woodcut. So the recessed bits will be left blank, and the raised bits will have colour. And there'll be a kind of different thickness of line to represent different kind of, so the feathery bit has some some kind of thick lines and some thin. You see what I mean? To get some kind of sense of the some kind of the animal, the bird in movement.
So the owl,
carry on.
The owl itself is almost the negative space, and then around the edges is where you're kind of putting in the detail.
Yeah. There's not a lot of scope for detail in my method of working, to be honest. It's more, yeah, it's quite a kind of primitive woodcut style thing, which you'll see when I put the paint on it. I'm definitely not trying to be too intricate. I'm actually going to cut out this mouldy bit because it's a bit yucky. Actually, I think I'll go around it like that. Don't want to have to look at it as much as I've been looking at it. We found a dead bat in my studio earlier, poor thing.
Oh no.
I don't know what had happened to it. Yeah.
Do you know if it had been living there or must have flown in?
I think there's often bats outside the front when I go at night, so they must be living around there, and I guess it must have flown in when the door was shut at some point. And what I'm actually going to do is recess around the whole of the owl figure, and so that he comes up a bit more like a sort of stamp. And as you can see, I haven't managed to put much of his body in. It's more his kind of face and wingspan. So let's see what happens with this, because it's going to be messy.
It's a bit difficult to see the kind of detail or any of the shape through our camera, but I guess for those joining in, we'll be able to see what is cut when it's printed. A little bit.
I hope so. That's the ambition.
I guess the beauty of working in this way is that there's so much room for experimentation, and that you know you don't have to be too precious about it. You can kind of trial and error.
Well, I'm a very sort of messy painter. You know, I'm not very good at neat work, to say the least. You know, I can have quite a steady hand at times, but not in this mode of working, because, you know, it's such a kind of small, blunt object, the potato. Doesn't really lend itself to neat work in my way of doing it, but that's what I like about it. It's almost going to be like a stamp, so if it works, it would be something that you could, you know, use as a one-off maybe to sign.
So to people sorry, Lucy. To people that are just joining us, what we're doing is we are making sort of, I guess, stamps really is a good way of describing it, using potatoes. And Lucy's work, you've focused a lot on sort of heraldry and images that you feel convey power. We're thinking about an image that we'd possibly like to repeat and make our own kind of bespoke stamp. And I guess the process of the printing changes the image as you work with it. So what Lucy's doing at the moment is just, she's working from an image of an owl, and she's sort of carving out that owl face so that projects out of the surface, and then you're recessing around it so that it sort of sticks out from the potato surface. I might just unmute Murphy, who's kind of working along with us, to see what you're doing, Murphy. I'll pop you on spotlight. There we go. Hi. What are you stamping?
So like Charlotte, I'm also doing a face. I'm trying at the moment to get some hair texture in one of the potatoes. And then I've got a nose, eyes, mouth.
Cool. Okay, I'm just going to switch back to...
Great. Sounds good. Sounds like a good idea to do a face. Now, I've got a few concerns about my owl. The first being that his wing's sticking out a little bit further than his face, so he might have to be smashed down quite hard in order to have access to that plane of his face. But you know, this is what I actually enjoy about this method of working, that you can really enact some violence on your potato and, you know, sort of carve it and mold it to your desire. So I now have to decide what colour to use. I think I might start with a lighter colour and then move to something a bit darker once I've established what's going on and what bits are going to work and what bits are not going to work. Start with some yellow. And then I think I'll use brown afterwards, but I think I'll start. Now, I think for the sake of this first one, I'm going to use a brush. I wouldn't always do, but I just want to see what's going on, as I said before. I have the feeling this is going to be a total disaster, the first ones, but it will probably get better as time goes on. Right, so I need to get a bit of paper. Right. Let's move this from underneath. We'll have a completely flat surface. Right. 1, 2, 3. Well, there's a lot of potato in there, that's for sure. Don't worry.
So, Lucy, is it good to like really put it down quite firmly? Otherwise, the paint won't kind of meet the paper in the right way.
In my method of working, it's the only way to do it, but I don't expect everybody to be as kind of relaxed about in their approach as I am. So the wings are coming out really well. Can you see that?
I'm just going to switch to the video. If you could I think maybe it would be really helpful if you could try printing on a slightly darker colour, just because of the contrast on the screen. It's just a bit tricky to see the yellow.
Okay, well, I will do that in a minute, but I just need to get the, printing on a darker colour paper. Right. My lovely assistant has jumped to the rescue. We'll try this, but I think it's going to have to take a lot of smashing up before it gets to the stage that I want it to anyway, because his head is quite behind his wings. And what we want is to get the head and the wings to be around the same level, plane. 1, 2, 3. Woo! Nice.
Okay, so yeah, I can see the wing on the right.
Yeah, the wing's looking good, isn't it?
Oh,
yeah. See, he's getting there. My idea is to have lots and lots of repetitions. I'm not really interested in one kind of masterwork. I'm interested in repetition and getting, you can just see this kind of figure emerging here. Can you see that? Yeah, that's good. This purple's quite nice actually, isn't it? Woo!
A nice one.
Maybe, Lucy, you could just hold that up. Oh, that's perfect.
The good thing is, sorry.
Oh yeah, I can see this one on the top
I'm
left.
a little bit
His
delayed
face.
in my... He's there. I don't know decided that he's a he, but sometimes it's good to kind of press and really wiggle. Thank you, Jarvis. Ooh, look, his face is starting to emerge. Do you see that? He's looking a bit more like a moth at the moment, but that's all right. I mean, really, my interest in creating some kind of characterful sort of morphing shape that you don't know what it is of him, but it has some kind of personality. That's what happened with the moment. This is nice. This is becoming a human face. You know, this is what I would call weird heraldry.
Yes, people can kind of, over time, they can develop a sort of a stamp or a symbol that they think kind of is, you know, deeply personal to them over this kind of process of experimentation.
Yeah, exactly. But the other thing is, it's about the process. It's about using your kind of intuition and association and kind of the making, and then applying your ideas about what the image is meant to be throughout, but not to kind of until I mean, it doesn't have to work. If it works, then that's really good. But it's, I mean, to me, these kind of images are really enigmatic in themselves. They look like strange insects to me more than anything at the moment. But I just want to try and get her, not her, maybe her as well, the head working. I'd love to know what anyone else is up to.
I'm just going to unmute Charlotte and see how Charlotte's getting on with her face. How are you doing, Charlotte?
I've gone a bit rogue. So my face has become some form of scenery for a fish. Which looks like this.
This is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
This is what I'm talking about.
But I'm quite enjoying it. Oh, it's very stress relieving. You just sort of, very nice.
Amazing. I'm just going to mute you, Charlotte, and I'm just going to check in with Murphy. Let me just see how she's getting on.
Yeah, so I've just been repeating the different potatoes I have. So the lips, the eyes. So I've got this at the moment.
Oh wow, that's. Can you just keep holding that up so we can see?
That's nice.
Yeah, great.
And then I'm also.
I love the colour.
Yeah, and I'm also going to use the same stamps to do all the cars outside the window I'm sitting outside of.
Okay, make some cars out of eyes and noses and mouths.
Yeah, so see how that goes.
Looking forward to seeing that.
Okay, I'm just going to go back.
Interesting. See? No, you guys have got the gist of it. As you can see, I just painted in the face on these other ones because I wanted to kind of remind myself what I was actually going for here.
So I guess at the sort of the main idea of this, Lucy, is really that it's a very simple stamp that we can use, you know, we can make using something like a potato, because it's obviously got that really easily kind of carvable surface. I guess what we could do is, like Charlotte was showing and Murphy, is that you can start with something very simple, so just a circle or a square, and then you can kind of go on to something a bit more developed like you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, people should really do what they want. Everyone has a different way of making, don't they? And I know very well that if somebody is really has the character and the kind of desire to make really fine work, you know, using, you know, very good crafty Blue Peter style handicrafts kind of work. Sorry, there's a word that I am looking for that I can't find because I have
Lucy,
brain damage from being kept up all night by babies still.
Would you be able to show us the other potato that you've got there, the one that you haven't worked with yet? Just the very sort of simple method of carving something, say like a circle, just so that people can familiarise themselves with the method if they haven't done it before. Okay, here we go. Maybe I'll use this one because that one's a bit... Okay, let's do... I think we'll just do the lovely owly face that has been eluding me a bit on the other one. People should just do what they want to do. I don't want to make people who want to make very clean, fine, make sloppy, expressive, you know, possibly slightly angsty looking work too. People should do what they want, because the potato is going to die at a point, so. But actually they do last for quite a while. You can really work on it. That's really beautiful because the grain of the potato, or whatever it's called, I don't know what the name for that is, but it's absolutely beautiful. It's actually following a kind of feathery pattern. So
the internet's just slowed down a little bit. If you could hold that up to the camera again, Lucy.
Right.
I don't know whether it's my internet.
Yeah. Do you see what I mean? The kind of the veins of the potato.
Yeah. I'm
having like flashbacks to biology lessons from 25 years ago, and I can't remember the language, but I know what I'm trying to get at. It looks a bit like owl feathers. Beautiful, soft, downy feathers that you get on the underside of an owl's wing. Looks a bit like that. Anyway, so can you see this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just using line, using the knife to make a very thin line, and carving it out. Just a little sort of gully.
I think the internet has just slowed down a little bit. So I'm really sorry about that if people are sort of struggling with the internet there. But I think I can sort of see what you're doing there.
Is it from me? Because we could open the door.
No,
that could help.
I think that's it. So basically you've just carved out the owl face and then you're drawing a line.
The door off to me. Yeah. Is the internet up now?
I think it's just... oh, there we go. Oh, hang on. I'm just going to switch to the other camera. Bear with us just a second. We're just switching to the other camera. Are you able to show us what the print of that one looks like, Lucy?
When I've done it.
Sorry for anyone who can't quite see what we're doing. The internet's being a little bit slow, but hopefully it will catch up with us in a moment.
Go. Look at that. Perfect.
Oh, no.
You see that?
Oh, yeah.
This is what I'm talking about. But you really have to smash it so that you get surface and the lines have a chance to kind of settle into something.
Well, I'm
just start with paint like that.
Mm-hmm.
And you see that?
I think we can. We're just struggling a little bit. The internet.
Anyway, I'm happy to talk.
Bear with us. I can see those on the screen, the owl faces, and they look brilliant. I'm just gonna quickly pop over to Charlotte and let's see, Charlotte, how you're getting on with yours.
Okay. I'm currently trying to make another potato, so I can give my fish a friend. But it looks like this at the moment.
Oh wow!
And there's gonna be, I think, a little, I've forgotten what they're called, a little jellyfish to go along with it.
Brilliant. I was thinking about doing a jellyfish.
Oh, lovely. They're quite nice because the shapes are fairly simple to do. So it's not too, I say that. Yeah. It's all right.
Great. And we'll just quickly pop over to Murphy as well.
So I'm trying to do my car at the moment.
Wow, well done.
So I'm using my lips and nose and eyes for that. I'm just going to experiment more with that at the moment.
Great.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
So we're sort of coming to the end. We're coming to sort of the end of the advertised time for the session. I know it always goes so quickly. But what do you think are the main?
Gosh.
What are the main things that you would like people to take away from this, Lucy, in terms of making their own stamps and things that they should be thinking about when making their own work?
I think people should always follow their own pleasure when making any kind of artwork. So, especially when it's in a kind of therapeutic context, which potato printing is very much for me. So whatever makes you feel sort of relaxed, the last thing I would want to be doing is struggling to make something really complicated and discernible in a potato. What I like is to create something that's sort of characterful and, as I said before, able to collapse elegantly and create something else. And to kind of it lends itself to having multiple images, and so you get this kind of relationship with pattern that I find really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, you can really zone out in it. If you do, I used to work on these huge bits of canvas and be on all fours on the floor, smashing this potato into the canvas, and I'd really start to create these very these rhythms, which were really helpful for thinking about painting generally. So,
mm-hmm.
You can think about it like that, but you can also make a stamp that you could put on an envelope to send to someone, maybe so wished, or you could just make a stamp to put on a postcard and send to someone. Or you could just make, sorry.
The beauty is as well, the paint you're using, obviously you're using poster paint, but acrylic would work just as well. And it's just, it's just the paint you're using. So you don't need to use water or anything. It's just putting
I mean, I wouldn't recommend acrylic over this. I think this stuff really, as I said at the beginning, the way that it connects with the water content and the starchy content of the potato is really, really helpful. Something about it that's it's a bit like gouache, and it's quite matte, which, as someone who works a lot with oil paint, is really attractive when you get this very kind of matte paint.
Cool. Well, we have a recording that we did with Lucy in Cornwall, which is on our YouTube channel, which people can watch back anytime. And we're also going to be uploading a recording of this session. Thank you so much, Lucy. It was really fun. And maybe Charlotte and Murphy, you could just hold up to the screens your final work that you've done as well. So lots of
brilliant,
amazing.
Really inventive.
So as always, I'm just going to switch cameras here. As always, thank you for joining us. Next week is the last in our present series, and it's going to be monoprinting without a press with Naomi Frears. So do join us for that. That's next Thursday. We've also just released details of a special Christmas workshop that we're going to be doing. We are bringing back Susie Hamilton, who some of you might remember from Dog Life Drawing. So Susie's very generously offered to do another workshop with us on the 10th of December, and that is going to be Starry Night Skyscapes. So we'll all be able to get into the festive spirit on the 10th of December. So as always, if you've made work today, we'd love to see it. So please upload it to our website. If you just go www.hospital-rooms.com. And hopefully we will see you next week as well. So same place next Thursday at 2 o'clock. So thank you, Lucy, so much. Thank you. Thank you, Charlotte. Thank you, Murphy and Louis, who joined us as well. And we look forward to seeing you all next week.